The truth is I don't know enough about Jess Krux. This is why you're here, because we met and we fell in love. It was an energy thing. Who are you? Tell me everything. Can you tell our audience? Can you introduce yourself?
I love you, by the way. No, I feel really grateful for being here legitimately and not in a cringe way. And I feel like meetings are no coincidence. And when you walked into the room, this isn't about me, but I just feel like I need to shine light on you because you walked into this room, there was 40 other women, you were a bit late, and you had this like, I didn't know who you were, I've never seen anything like you, and you're like red lipstick, you're in a dress, it's like gnarly outside, and we're all in a room, and they're just like, come up to the bar, and there was just like this like braided exchange of energy without it being anything. We didn't even really talk, It was just like, oh. And then you open your mouth, and you were like super funny. And it just felt like this like love at first sight.
Yeah, it did.
And it's so cool that at like 36 years old, you can still feel that with a
feels
stranger.
So good. It feels so good.
And it's like, even if we were like blindfolded, you would have felt that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like attraction is obviously there, just like a friendship, but it was like such a blind attraction of energy, exchange, and love, and like laughter, and all the things that you try to get to on like a level of just like relationship. So that was fun.
That was fun. Who are you?
Yeah. So my name is Jessie. I'm a mommy. And yeah, I feel like I'm a lot of things, but I really like to serve. And I really like to serve in the medium of food and to allow people to see how cooking and experiencing food and serving each other and moreover yourself is actually pretty simple. And I don't think it needs to be complicated. And I think that there can be, once like all the dust and all the things and all the complications and all the saturation of internet can be put aside, using food as a medium to health and a medium to peace and a medium to like mindfulness, it actually can be really easy when you find your own personal path, because food is by no means a one-size-fits-all. And I think it can be a beautiful life's journey to like finding what works for you if we're talking about like feeling well, looking well, having vitality, feeling robust, energy, clear mind, all the things.
Yeah. And
I think food has the power also to bring community together, and family, of course, but like friends, and really like it's like as like legit as just like sharing a meal around a table and conversation. I think we have a lack of that now coming out of a pandemic. And I feel like the food, the essence of food, and then you like bring it back a notch and you think about like farming, and you think about like where the actual source is coming from.
The source, like sun,
the
water,
source.
soil.
Right. Yeah. And it's like you start breaking it down to the elements and it starts to feel a bit more natural. And it's like, when you can start looking at food through a lens, and of course we are extremely fortunate for living where we live and doing what we do and having the abundance in a way of like farmers markets and grocery stores and health food stores and co-ops and all the things or going to local farms or growing your own, right? We are in abundance. And it's like, if you can I try to teach my clients and myself and my family, like if you can look at food through the lens of like, did it come from the earth? Did Mother Nature give this to you? Did someone actually touch this food with their hands to deliver it somewhere? Or are you kind of looking at food through the lens of like, it's packaged, it's convenient, Whole Foods has it, these hippy dippy brands are doing it, and by all means supporting all that good stuff. But it's like, it's just kind of distinguishing like what feels good, what's easy, is it convenience? Can I go a little bit more simple? Can I eat more colors? Can I dive into the rainbow more? Like, is there a label on it? Am I going to create trash? Is there some sort of like, am I composting this? It's like becomes like a whole, it's like food theory of like, how am I treating myself? But it's all about like me. And then it's like,
I have to say that, like, I've said this a million times on this podcast, that food has always been a really hard thing for me. For whatever reason, food, matter, mother, it has always been something that is not intuitive to me. Even I've tried to do intuitive eating. I've tried every diet. I've tried no diet. And it's I after we had this like cosmic
implosion.
Yeah, explosion together. Like after we met, I started following you on Instagram, and like the way you romanticize food, or maybe just the way you see it. It's so sexual and sensual. Like it's sexy and it's beautiful. Like I don't know, the way you like video your work. It's art. And it's medicine for me. The way you see food has been medicine for me. Because it can feel like such a means to an end. Food can just feel like I just got to get through the day without feeling uncomfortable, so I'll eat this. I just got to get to the shoot and feel beautiful, so I'll follow this. It's just like anyway, it has not been an easy road, and I don't think it's an easy road for a lot of women.
100%.
Like when you're working with clients, what are some of the things that you're meeting in those interactions?
Let's just start from like how to grocery shop, right?
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And
let's
it's
start
like,
there.
Yeah, you always kind of dissect it in a sense of like, well, what do you like? Like preferences, right? And it's almost like you're like dating. Like, what do you like? What do you not like? What are you looking for? What are you not? What are your goals, right? And it's a similar situation with food because, you know, it's like if the goal is to have more time or know that my family is taken care of or there's like meals in place or I don't want to chop all day or, you know, if there's things like this, then you kind of move towards what the goals are, right? But the other question is like this like more broad yet personal question of like, how do you want to feel when you consume something?
When you consume it or after? Oh my God, see, I like really don't know what's going on with food. I'm like, is it the chewing part? Is it the after part? And
it's the holistic view. And that's how I cook and that's how I teach. So they're both parts and then more. It's not black and white. And that's like to my point 5 minutes ago, like it will never be, it can be, sure. For a lot of people, eating is black and white. It's a meal, it's done, I digest, I go home, I sleep,
Are there people for which that is the experience and you're like, right on? Like if food is just energy to bring your gifts to the world, cool, and you don't have an issue with it, cool. I mean, that seems like fun. And that's not my experience, but it does seem fun.
It seems, I don't know. I can't speak on that. I can really only speak on experience and the experience I've witnessed and been with for others. So it's like, I think that if there's this desire to grow the relationship with food, and it doesn't have to be complicated. I can take my mantra and plug it in anywhere. It doesn't have to be complicated to be effective, like whatsoever, right? If it's a simple question of like, I wake up today and I ask myself like, how do I actually want to feel? And I know that like how I'm feeling is based on what I'm ingesting, not only physically but mentally, right? It's like, okay, so if we're going to just piece over food for a second, like, you know, there's different foods that can make Danielle's personal constitution feel a certain way, right?
Are we talking about Ayurveda?
It can be.
Ayurveda? I said it weird.
Yeah, it's okay. Ayurveda. It's Ayurveda, this conversation is never just like one. There's never one answer to food, at least if I'm talking about it with somebody. But like a lot of practitioners in food, right? Because there's levels. And that's why it's not easy for you to say, and it's easy for you to say, but it's not easy for you to be like, food's not easy for me. Mm-hmm. And that is valid because it can be confusing, difficult, and a little bit overwhelming if you don't really know kind of like, what is your starting point? And I think it can be as easy as like, okay, how do I want to feel? And then the next thing, when you kind of find the materials that make you feel good, you yourself, your own personal constitution, say, smoothies don't work for you. Let's just take random things that are now like buzzy in the
Coffee.
health world. Okay, coffee. So coffee doesn't feel good for your system. This is for probably a lot of reasons. So if coffee, for instance, makes somebody their nervous system, because of course it's affecting that right away, it makes you feel jittery, not grounded, flighty, almost forgetful, like jumpy, spazzy, all the things that would happen to your mental space, then it's like it's a really easy example, because then you're like, okay, well, like I want a hot drink, or I want something that's going to give me a little bit of caffeine. Then what are my other alternatives? In a similar vein, it's like, okay, morning time. I want to feel alive, awake. I'm not starving, but I don't just want to like grab a piece of bread every day. Fine if you do, but maybe your mindset is like, I actually want to have something that is, I don't know, a bit more rounded in like the breakfast category, or has a little bit more nutrients or diversity, things like this. So it's like, if a smoothie doesn't, do you like smoothies?
I like smoothies. I like the taste of smoothies. I haven't had a smoothie in a good long time, but I don't like cold in my body.
There you go.
Right in the morning.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This is going very well.
But that's the questions, right? And it's like, you don't like cold in your body. And that, again, back to Ayurveda, like there are constitutions that, would say that some foods are better in the morning on an empty stomach than, a smoothie. So say oats or something that is a bit more grounding, right?
Yeah.
Or warming, and it's like warm water and cinnamon and oats and maybe some other like stone fruits and things like this that are really nourishing to your body. And I don't know, I feel like we don't need to carry on about smoothies and oatmeal, but like I really do believe that once you can tap in just a little bit deeper into your own personal journey, like oatmeal to smoothie, for instance, easy, ridiculous conversation, but like easy, then it's like, oh, like I actually feel differently by eating this bowl of warm porridge today. And then it's like—
that sounds so good.
And it also— the whole question of like, how do you want to feel? And is this plate serving you? Becomes this very personal experience of like digestion, mindset, energy levels, all things that we need to sustain all day.
I'm having this real experience listening to you, and I'm like, wait, food can't be that important. Like there are important things in the world, right? And this is what I really believe. These are the limiting beliefs I have around feeding myself and my family, because I'm like, oh, there are more important things, and like we're so lucky that we have all these choices, and why should we be thinking so much about what we're putting in our body? And then I realized, like, okay, it's not a mistake or an accident that I have these choices. I was born into this time, in this place, with this access, with this abundance, for a reason. And if I keep ignoring all of the options because I don't think it's important or I'm important, then I am blocking myself and everyone around me from my goodness, my outpouring of talent, my health and vitality. But I do have this limiting, this block where I'm like, oh no, I can't put this much thought into that. That's a waste of time. But then anyway, but the more we talk, I'm like, well, is it a waste of time to make sure that you're not littering, or that you're recycling properly, that you're composting, that you're keeping things that are, leftovers and then reusing them in a mindful way? Is that a waste of time, or am I just— no, it's not a waste of time.
Right.
It's important.
Yeah, very. And not to mention, like, you're important, right? Like, but you are. I mean, as we all are, every one of us is important. But before we can take care of the world, our kids, the family, the community, like, we have to take care of us. And I do believe that, without health and proper physical and mental health, then we can't necessarily take care of other people, because then we kind of become a little hypocritical. And not to mention—
and snippy.
Well, yeah. And
just get snippy and mean.
Exactly.
And if I'm hungry, or if I'm overstuffed, or if if I'm uncomfortable, there's just like no way for me to sit here and enjoy you, to ingest you. There is just no way. Because it does take time. Food does take time to prepare, to think about, especially if it's not intuitive to you.
Totally.
And it can feel like, what's the point? I have to do this all over again in 3 hours, 4 hours.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you make it simpler?
Yeah. And to that, a few pings come to mind. And again, the way that I teach is, again, talk about like 3 things you really love. So let's say you like really love chicken salad and you really love burritos and you really also love fruit salad, just simple. And it's like, can you just kind of take the ingredients, simple ingredients? We're not talking about complicated stuff. We're not talking about recipes that take hours. We're really not. I'm talking 20-minute meals and prepping, etching out. Let's call it meditation, okay? Let's call it like grocery shopping, coming home, washing, and putting things in recyclable jars in your fridge or Tupperware. And just knowing that there's availability for some diversity when it comes to meals, and also you're saving a ton of money because you're not eating out, ordering seamless, however we fuel ourselves. And you're then able to kind of grab and go in your own refrigerator, not only for yourself, but for your family, for your husband, for your kids, for your wives, whoever. And there's this availability to like play and create and have a canvas to do something different because you're ready for it, right?
Because you're ready.
And it doesn't actually take that much time when and only when you're able to etch out the time beforehand. It's like anything. It's just preparation. Well, it's the same way that you're ready to go. All you had to do was put on some gloss and a hat.
The hat was good.
Because you've showered, you've done your hair, you've done your makeup, you look beautiful, you probably did some meditation movement, whatever. And, if you were to just roll out of bed right now and like think that you're going to be prepared to give yourself and your energy and your all of your people's energy and all that, like, no, it takes intention. It takes a bit of goal setting, and it takes following through and doing it because you're going to be your best self if you do all of that before you show up here to be the person people know you to be.
Well, what's crazy is that I did roll out of bed and just come here. And how cool would it be if I nourished myself? I mean, could you imagine?
But you didn't just roll out of bed.
No, but I did. But I did.
You woke up like this.
Yeah, I woke up like this. No, I did get my hands done yesterday, but then it was raining. What can I say? And but I put on a lip. Let's not lie, and the hat.
Lip.
And but also there's also lifelong preparation. Right. There's lifelong preparation. And I think sometimes when I come to food, I'm like, I had a salad. Mm-hmm. Why don't these jeans fit? What? 5
I'm not laughing at you.
Plus
by the way.
5
I'm
equals
at your
100? That doesn't. The math doesn't add up. First of all, these 2 things they're really not in relationship.
No.
They're not in relationship. Can we please untangle this bizarro relationship between food and my jeans? Mm-hmm. It's not about that.
Well, but you won't know that until you get deep in the food and allow it to do its work, Daniela.
There was preparation for days,
mm-hmm.
weeks,
mm-hmm.
months, years, literal decades to bring me here to talk to you.
Same.
And the same goes with food. It's not like, do it for me, broccoli. Broccoli's not my bitch.
Make me poop.
Make me poop. Make me think better. Yeah, but it
Give
takes
me glowy skin.
Give it to me. Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about longevity, and so are you. Well, I think.
Yeah. I mean, in the short term, I loved the idea of the meditation because I have meditated for 10 years now, twice a day, nearly every day for 20 minutes. And we live in the manifest. We live in matter.
Mm.
We live in the world that is like a world that I can see and touch and feel and eat.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how much meditation I do, eyes closed, eyes open is where I live.
Totally.
So I love the idea of coming to food prep as a meditation. Mm-hmm. When I first started meditating 10 years ago, I had a lot of resistance. The same way I have resistance to moving my body, which is still a thing.
Totally.
Which is still a thing.
Yeah.
And resistance is not an indicator of this is a bad idea. Resistance is an indicator of this is going to change my life. And change is hard.
Mm-hmm.
And change is scary. And like an ego death means that I will wrestle with the ego until she realizes I'm not going to die if I change.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. And it could also maybe be fun.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Food
because
is fun? What?
Because I think as a segue, just this beautiful conversation around like joy and like finding joy, right? And like, every day it feels like that's a stretch, but if in a perfect world you could find it every day, and actually like encapsulate it and like feel it and hold on to it, and then like almost like you're charging your joy battery, and then tomorrow, God forbid it's a crappy day, you're able to like pull from that joy cup, right? And I think, at least in my experience, and again, with the women and men that I've worked with, it's like once you start tapping into that block of food and realize that right next door, adjacent, is joy, then like you realize that the food prep, the grocery shopping, the cutting, the assembling, the washing, the putting away, the cleaning, the kitchen, the dishes, the entire cycle of what food becomes can be a bit joyous.
The most fulfilling things in life take work. We said this in one of our very first episodes on this show. The beautiful parenting coach, Avital Schreiber, said, like, Laura was like, why would I ever want to be a mother? It looks very dirty and loud and ugh. She's like, well, the most joyful, fulfilling moments in all of our lives takes work.
Right. It's all about ease. A little bit, right? It's all about kind of the stacking of functions and being busy and knowing that you want to be productive and knowing that you also probably want to feel good, right? It's like this balancing act in a way.
No, I want to feel good so badly.
Right. All the time.
But I also, I want to feel good so badly, and my everyday state is like, is what I know. Sure. And what I know is comfortable. And is good comfortable sometimes? Sure. Until you like pierce through. I mean, I have taken care of myself better in the past. And I do find, I don't know, do you find with motherhood that it's a little harder?
It's the hardest thing I've ever done
to take care of yourself.
Life. Absolutely.
Or is it harder to take care of your children?
Myself. No, the child taken care of is actually not that. Of course, it's difficult, but it almost comes so intuitively to like know that you're this caretaker and you're the mother and you're literally you're the source for them. You're their soil, you're their earth, you're their water,
sun,
you're everything. All of it. Yeah, right. You're every element.
Oh, I get that. I know where I'm saying, but the relationship to self is so I'm in my body. Mm-hmm. I'm in it.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Well, it also just becomes it's like if we were looking at it through like a pie, and even if you don't have children, join the pie. We can all be in the pie. We all have different pieces of the pie that resemble something or are distinguished by something that we do in our lives all day long, right? And so it's like it's like we almost do forget to quote unquote water our own garden, and so we become so good at it. Even Laura, like without you don't have children. You said that, right? So without children, you're like, but you water other people's garden all day. And if it's like there's like the wheel of health. Okay, so if we're like having just some you and me one-on-one moment of which we are, but if we were working together, something you talk about
when we work together.
Yeah, well, we are right now. That's great. But like it's like, where are you prioritizing self? And again, this isn't to say like you're not. I'm not. This isn't like there's no right. Like of course you do. You look at you. You're clearly prioritizing yourself.
Yeah,
I can't say that word.
This is me prioritizing myself.
Exactly.
My work, my creativity, my relationships, my service to the world. Right. Yeah. So and there's more.
Yeah. But it's like, you and then enter kids into the pie, and slowly, depending on age and wherever you are in life with them, where they are in growth, you slowly get like knocked to the side. Your pie fraction becomes less and less until you realize like, I got to go and charge the joy battery again. And
sometimes that takes like a breakdown.
It does.
Sometimes. Often, right? We sit down here talking to people who go through, psychosis or depression or like physical stuff in order to like open up that piece of the pie for themselves.
100%. And I think if say we can all make a small ripple of a difference in the microcosm of the world that we live in, it's like, then we have to remember that like this soul, this body, this energetic being is of like utmost importance, right? And it's okay if you have to break before, like implode yourself before you become another star. Okay. But wouldn't it be nice if you didn't actually have to go so below E for that to happen?
Wouldn't it be nice?
It would be. It is, and it's possible.
Yeah?
100.
How?
You don't agree?
No, I do. I just want to hear it out loud.
Well, I
do agree.
I think all the things we're talking about, and I think heightening the awareness around how important self is. Because without us doing the work, we can't be our greatest self and deliver our greatest self. We just can't. And we can't afford listen, it's all funny. We're like, what are we talking about? But like we can't afford to like all of us just always like mothers, females. Let's talk about females. We can't just afford to like always like not always, but one of us to break down at a different time to then like reemerge as a new star.
No, because
I just don't think that's not efficient.
And also, what kind of community are we building?
Right. And what are we teaching our children? That's all I got to say.
What are we teaching our children? What kind of community are they going to be building?
One second though, don't get me wrong. I very much have like broken multiple times in my life, right? Of course. I just don't want to like make it seem like I know what I'm doing and this is what you do. Like, no.
No, that's why we're doing this podcast because like I just want to give a whisper to the chick who's curious enough to click on this.
Hell to the yes.
To say like, you don't need to break. We did it. Mm-hmm. We did it, babe. Mm-hmm. We did it. Mm-hmm. It's done. Mm-hmm. Take these lessons.
And communicate with somebody who knows you, who knows that you need not only like to step back or, a cooking class or a small 24-hour retreat or to take a bath at a spa that's not in your house, anything. You have to communicate with your friend, with your wife, with your husband, with your, maybe not your children, but somebody who can really be your soundboard because we think, I believe as women that like, we know front, back, side to side at all times. We're like these amazing proficient sailors, it feels like, in my life at least sometimes, most times. And it's like, I assume you know what I need, not you, but potentially like my family, right? Or my best friends. Like, you know what I need.
You know what other people need. So you assume people know what you need. Guess what? They don't.
Right. So without this very clear line of communication and maturity around what it is you need and your partner, let's just talk about partners now. So it's like, and your partner, like, it needs to be reciprocated, right? They need to tell you what they need. I tell you what I need. There becomes this clearer line of communication. And then the joy cup can start filling because you're not like, there's no like resenting, like a F, like I'm getting below E. And how does no one know? Right?
You're not telling them.
Right. And I think
because if you don't know, how are they going to know? Sometimes we don't even know. Totally. I've been cooking more. I really have been inspired by you and your relationship with food. This is how it works. But this is how life works, is that like you share your gifts and the ripple effect goes on and on. My husband, Dan, has been the recipient of very delicious food. And what's really cool is, whoa, all of a sudden we have more money to do more fun things. He feels fit and sexy and he's fitting into his clothes in a different way, and he is engaging with his clients in a different way, and on it goes, right? That's how it goes. If I restrict access to all the options and abundance and goodness and nutrition of all kinds that I have because I don't feel worthy or because I don't think it's worth it or because I don't think I have enough time, then I'm like stopping that plug that needs flowing. I'm curious how you've been taking care of yourself lately. Yeah. The last time, so we had that very beautiful meet cute, and then we followed up with a cool dinner. It was the night before you were going to get your tubes tied.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting way to frame it.
Why?
No, I mean, that's what I say too, is tubes tied, but it's an interesting visual because they've been saying that since like the 50s.
Oh,
right?
Tell me.
No,
What is it? What does it even mean? What am I saying? No, I don't even know what I'm saying. That's why you're here. I don't know what the procedure was.
Right. No, and
it was the day, by the way, that they gave. What was that day?
Yeah, it was like right before Roe v. Wade. It didn't get overturned the day before, but it was very much like in the pulse height of the news.
That there was a leak.
Yes, I think it was like the night before that. Yeah, that was interesting.
And I was sitting there, and both you and I were like feeling. It was a group of 4 of us, really lovely women, love.
Yeah.
But the 2 of us were kind of looking at each other, and we were like, "Wait, this is a really messed up day."
Yeah.
And you're about to really take charge of your fertility and your life tomorrow. And I really felt the weight of that, and I don't know.
And we all weirdly showed up in black. It was right. We were head to toe black, the 4 of us.
All 4 of us
in like this very green room. Anyways. Those are the things I remember. But yeah, I think, just to kind of segue a bit into having your quote unquote tubes tied, or they now call it a tubal ligation, where they go in and cauterize, I think is a very little bit more intense word, but they go in and with electricity sever your fallopian tubes. I was extremely fertile, and I say that because I've been pregnant multiple times and have 2 healthy, beautiful children, and other times I've been pregnant and I actually only had 1 fallopian tube to begin with and got pregnant multiple times with only 1. So I say I'm fertile because that is why, and I don't mean that to be triggering to anybody because I think that word can be in a way, but I believe I
have
was.
A feeling someone listening to this is also extremely fertile.
Definitely.
And that's a great thing. And not a great thing sometimes.
Right. And I think especially when, I think there's like multiple camps, but there's 2 in my brain specifically. It's like, you want children, you want a family, potentially multiple children and a larger family. Or there's like, maybe 1, maybe 2, and that's kind of where I was. My husband and I were in a good place and we were ready to start a family. So we were confident about 2, and I felt really good about that. And I feel like as a mother, and I could talk about this forever with you, I feel like, but this conversation around having a mother, feeling sustained, feeling fulfilled, and knowing how absolutely hard and like earth-shattering it could be. And I don't mean that in a scary way. I just mean that because you're literally taken from your identity that your whole life and then turned into something greater, let's call it. But you are, and you have to find that balance again of that identity of who you were to who you are to are you same, are you not? I wear a veil. What is it? Can I take it off? Never. So then it becomes like, okay, I'm content. I actually don't want any more children. And because I know that I'm extremely fertile, then I'm going to be able to, I want to live in absolute, right? And the procedure, long story short, I basically had to go to multiple, my OB who delivered both children, she did not feel comfortable doing it. So I actually had to, because there is this theory around are you sure? I had a baby a year ago. So are you sure your hormones aren't just talking and you don't know what you're going to want in 3 years. You're still only 36 years old. There's so many decisions that can be made around this idea. How are you so certain?
Because it's irreversible.
Correct. And the certainty only I can say to you, and I know that. So please let me make my decision, especially because we live in a state where we can. So, it was my OB to the next OB to the next OB. And in New York City, there's an abundance of OBs. So then I went to the next OB because none of them wanted to do it because it is so permanent. And because on the flip side, the conversation is, well, why won't your husband just have a vasectomy? It's an in and out procedure. You have to go under to have a tubal ligation, and there is an intense amount of downtime, and you're put out, and anything could happen. So they run through the myriad of things that could happen to you, and you basically sign away a large waiver of life, and then they give you 30 days to think about it. You have to. It is really regimented and extremely, there was this austere feeling around it. And I still was fine with it. I never thought twice. I was like, it's interesting. This is the formation, but I'm pretty certain. And my husband And I never felt like my husband should get a vasectomy. I just didn't have that narrative. I wanted to do it. And if the narrative is opposite, please, like that is your opinion and your feelings and your life stance, it just wasn't mine.
Is a vasectomy reversible?
It is. And there's also a lot of complications. And please, by no means, I am not a doctor. And this is
You're not a doctor?
Holy shit. But like, if you're thinking about it, and I've had now a dozen of conversations with women through direct messaging on social media that are like doing it, want to do it. So many questions because there's not a lot of forums and blogs and things like this or information generally about it. There's just I did the discovery in all of the looking up on the Google. It's like there's not.
You're the only one I know. You're the only woman I know who's at least talked about this procedure.
Yeah.
And
I think I want to talk about it more, but it's also
here we are.
Here we are. But it's also like it's like time and space, and also it's I don't know. I feel like with conversations that I don't think taboo is the right word, where there are so many opinions on it, and even my friends, like some of my good friends, it's easier for him just to get a vasectomy, Jess, and I'm like, I got that. I understand that knowledge piece. Right? I get the ease of it. I actually really want to proceed. Anyways, so, they go in, they do it. The aftermath is intense. I think I kind of was, if there's one thing I wish I would have had a bit more insight on, it was that you're in a hospital, you're being treated as a patient after somebody just performed a surgery on you and severed some of your organ. And, you then have to live out the aftermath of it. And it wasn't a mental piece for me. I was very certain on that, and that's clear. That's what I keep saying. But like the physical piece, you don't really know, right? That there is unknowns to that. So it was similar. There was the similar aftermath to birth. And of course, it was very different energetically. I'm telling my body no more. I didn't just give birth. But it felt that way in my abdomen, back. It was super, super painful, sensitive. It was definitely like, it wasn't the postpartum length, but it was a, 5 to 10 day stint of like full blown recovery.
Laying down?
Yeah. And stairs were difficult. And there was an exercise, it was like being cleared 2 weeks later, no sex, no real movement, no exercising, no sweating. You have these pretty beautiful scars on either side of your body.
Are they beautiful?
I mean, sure. And I think the aftermath too is like, it's not just this light switch. You're not just like, I had a surgery, everything's good, I can't get pregnant anymore, like move on. No, we need to like any surgery, any real big decision you make where you're literally deciding the pathway of your future. I am not having any more children. Clear. Done. Period. I have 2 children. I'll nourish them and that's it. And, it becomes very much the journey of like, how do you take care of your body after this and really like nourish like mind around that? Because, we know, it's like, are you having more kids? Are you having more kids? Why not? It's like we're all fucking curious. It's beautiful. And I'm not triggered by any of that. I think at the conversation, listen, I'm open. Let's talk. I don't care. But like some people do, because some people can't have more kids.
Can't.
Right. Some people are told they can't have more kids, or they've decided not to because IVF hasn't worked for the 7 times they've done it. I've worked with multiple clients who...
Are you not a doctor? What?
Multiple clients that are... I work in a lot of fertility, ironically, and maybe it's not ironic, but like...
No, it's not ironic at all. That's why you know the options. You know that there's birth control. You know that there's an IUD. You know that you can pull out. You know that he can have a vasectomy.
Well, yeah. And also, I also know that there's ways, I believe, a lot of holistic nutritionists believe, and doctors, Eastern meets Western doctors, that like you can fuel your woman fertility chances to get pregnant, I believe, through food and your lifestyle choices. So it's like I do have helped a lot of women in the past. If that's the goal, to have a child or have another child, then let's work towards that, right? So it's like there's so many pieces again to like the aftermath and how you nourish with food to like heal body, and also then if you're trying to get pregnant, talk about 2 sides of the spectrum. Fertility and how you nourish to try to create an atmosphere in which your body wants to be super fertile.
When I think about fertility, as a person who I've made 2 beautiful, healthy babies, but I've also made a lot of art in my life and will continue to.
Mm-hmm.
I think of also birthing yourself.
Totally.
Birthing yourself, birthing your creative endeavors, you're now birthing a business, right? Like a brick and mortar, like a restaurant, right? Oh, no more?
Should we talk about that?
Sure. Unless you don't want to talk about it.
Well, I feel like we don't have a lot of time on it.
Either way, I just think I think fertility for a woman has been whittled down to making babies for millennia. And we have like we said earlier on, we have the access and the intel and the consciousness to know that we're making a lot more than just people. We make a lot of things.
Yeah, we do make a lot of things. And I think that's an amazing reminder to the women who are having a hard time conceiving. And, it's it's a sensitive topic because I have been in intimate relationships with people who really can't conceive or have lost a baby. And it's devastating. It's shattering because when you see the vision and the vision won't come to be what you see, again, this is a way of thinking, one way of thinking. It's like you're reminded that maybe my way isn't the only way, right? Or maybe the creation has to come through another source or through another medium.
Yes,
right.
That also is also a big part of our mission on this podcast is to offer the choices. We have choices, friends. We do have choices. One of those choices is to not have a child by choice.
Totally
cool, guys. Mm-hmm. We make a lot of things. We are more than baby machines. Yeah. If you have a calling to make a child, please, by all means, let's get to know them. Bring them into this world. Totally. Bring them to the manifest, please. But if not, totally cool.
Yeah, and sometimes life is just giving you the new pathway, right? And you have to trust that what is happening is only leading you deeper to your true source of where you're supposed to be going. And that doesn't make it easier by any stretch. I know that. But trusting in the fact that potentially there is another way that it was written for you, right? And exploring what that means.
And you're navigating that with your career right now?
Well, not necessarily with the career. My career is clear, right? Serve, cook, help people understand how to do that. There was a bigger idea in which it was, can I deliver this to the masses? And I think, there's this thought where in your career, you're at a place, you're doing really wonderful, everything's great, and you want to move trajectory upward, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, it was this is what I should be doing. I should open up a restaurant. Mm-hmm. That's what it felt like I should be doing next.
Should.
Right.
Can we just X that out of our mouths?
Blech. Right. Blech. And I think, and I think we're living in this very open, honest, vulnerable, yet can be foggy and a little bit not clear social media world of well, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. I want to do that. It gets confusing for somebody. I'm not saying that I was confused on my path, but for some people looking at others' lives, it can be well, I should be doing that too. But narrowing it back down to your own path of I really thought that I should be doing something grander. If I'm going to cause, I keep saying ripple effect because that's my mission.
Anyways, I feel it. I really do feel that.
Yeah. And so brick and mortar, New York City was the outlet, and I had the opportunity. And about a month and a half ago, I had to pull out for my own joy. I found myself in tumult of where I actually was many years ago in the restaurant world, and the stress, the anxiety, the overwhelming sensations of not serving myself. And I would have been doing my family and myself a disservice if I gave my entire being, energy, time, space, creativity to something that looked and felt like a brick and mortar. And I realized that through the process. And luckily, my friend and partner still, she's a friend. And I had to be honest. And I really had to take time and be like, hey, I think I need to really reanalyze like what I'm doing. And luckily, we're not open yet. And I still want to be able to support you, however that may be. And I need to kind of still think about that,
Well, you serve your consciousness in the food, right? That's what Ayurveda also teaches. I read all the books. Don't get me wrong. Like I know the stuff. I just haven't done the stuff.
Right. I mean, the practice only works if we do it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. But you're walking the talk. You said here, right here, my mission is to serve self. In order to serve others, for the ripple effect, for there to be a community of, let's say, women who raise the next generation. Yeah. We can't take this abundance for granted. And you, 6 weeks ago, said, I have to be honest. Yeah. This is not in alignment with my life's mission.
Yeah. And like, who would I be if I crash and burn, like for my family? I mean,
you don't have to do that. Right. You've done that before. We mentioned.
Exactly.
We don't have to do that again.
Exactly. And there, sometimes when you can like kind of step back and like see the forest from the tree, it's not possible when you're in the tree to see the forest. But when you can remove yourself from the top of the tree and go like become a bird for a moment, and actually like if you're like looking at your goal piece and like your peace of mind piece, and you're like looking at that pie again of your priorities. And you like asking myself, like, is this serving my life for the next 5 years? Let's just call it that. And the answer was just a very clear no. And, it was hard to feel that while I was in it. But I think just, as a lesson, it was to like step back, take a moment, because like everything's going to be fine. If you step back, the world's not going to shatter.
Oh my God, but doesn't it feel like it though?
It does. Only until you. And then when you step back and you really breathe, take time and give yourself the grace to also feel humiliated, because, in a sense, like you're giving this, your word and your creativity and all these things to somebody, and now you are pulling away. And, it's like if you told your work, your studio, that you're just like, you guys, like this was the wrong move for me. There is a domino effect, and you feel that. There's a mourning after that. And I'm feeling that slightly. I was. And it's all good. We're talking about a restaurant, right? It's not like we're not talking about big things.
Right.
But for
but we are. But here's what I'm going to just reflect back to you, right? You matter.
Right. Totally.
You matter. You matter. You living in your integrity matters. Just the same way you told me with so much love. Like, you matter. You feeding yourself good food. You feeding yourself your life's calling. You feeding yourself nourishing choices. Really, it really does matter. Like, I'm not just saying that. It really does matter. And your higher self knew that. Your higher self knew that. And just like you said about, oh gosh, this is why we're in relationship. Because you have all the knowledge, and we need another person to like say it again to you though, right? We had the vision, and that vision does not come to fruition. And there is some disappointment in that, but there are other options.
100%. And there always will be.
And there always will be.
And we have to allow ourselves, again, the grace and the ease to like say it's okay, and like the space that happens thereafter to really hone in on like that space, because it can be destructive. It can be like, fuck, I should have done something else. How could I have gotten here faster? I mean, these are all the narratives that went through my mind, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think with any like switching of pathways, right? You're just like, shit, like, did I do the right thing? And it's just like knowing that if you are connected to that intuition and there is that clear line of awareness to self, then you can fall back always on like, no, I did make the right decision. And I know there will be, no, it doesn't even have to be like there are other things. There's pipeline is, it's like there's always going to be, of course, there's always going to be opportunity. And I feel, it feels like I'm in my power knowing that now, even 6 weeks later, and being able to continue to listen to that deep gut feeling. And I suggest if anyone is listening, feeling like they're in a place in their career or in a place in their motherhood, or they want to make a transition or lean into something else, it's okay. And, And if there is like a ping from above, from below, however you get it, listen to it. Don't make quick, rational, irrational moves, whatever. Just like listen to it. Sit on it, write with it, sing on it, dance, whatever the fuck you do to be energetic. We are energetic beings. We have to let it move through us. If we sleep on it, that's where I think we run into trouble.
When you get the hit, and you're like, oh, I'm not going to listen. Oh God, that feels so uncomfortable in my body when I get the hit and I don't listen. Oh God, the tightness. Oh, the constriction. Oh God, it's so uncomfortable. Yeah. I could fucking live there for months. I really could. And I'm like really into you having listened like pretty soon after, because that is a terrible feeling when you know something's not right.
Yeah.
And you do it anyway.
I hate that feeling. Yeah, it's tough. And I think the more you can listen to it, the faster you become able to pivot.
Where can we find you, and when do I start my program with you? What's going on here?
I'm mostly on Instagram. I think that's it. And so j.krux. And then my website's organicearthkitchen.com.
And like, what are your offerings? Like, I don't know you well enough. That's the truth. What are your offerings? How do you teach virtual?
Yeah, culinary yoga retreats are something that are really fun. My friend and I host them. But yeah, no, I teach cooking classes and courses on Zoom and hopefully in person again soon. And of course, I'm a personal chef to clients in the city.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. Do you do like one-on-one nutrition consultations?
I did. Fresh out of school about 5 years ago, I started doing that. I found I love it, and I still will do it. But it gets extremely intimate, and I of course I know boundaries, and I know how to teach boundaries and implement them myself. But I think as a mom now, as a parent of two and a wife and all the things, like it's a little bit too gooey.
Well, also you're incredibly open-hearted and empathetic. I think when people are struggling that way to just feed themselves or be nice to themselves, I imagine that's a lot to take on.
Yeah, and I feel like the medium or the platform of social is interesting because you have this opportunity to, make a small little effect, a ripple of like a drop of like this little boop, 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 boop. Of like in the little pond of water, because so maybe it's just a ping. Maybe it's like, oh, I didn't know I could cook cabbage that way. I didn't realize sesame seeds had so much calcium. Like all the, it's like that's like it's a great platform to do fun things like that and still get the fulfillment from each other, right? And you're just like feed, get.
Cool.
Anyways, yeah.
Is there anything that we missed in our conversation, or some parting words that you wanted to share with our listener?
Yeah. You don't have to be perfect to be well.
Okay.
I don't know. I like that.
I like that. Oh.
I love you.
Well, thanks.
You are welcome.
We're out.